Welcome to Lost on Ice, the show about the show 20 years later. Today we're talking about Season 2, Episodes 13 and 14. So much happened in these episodes that we're going to break this chunk of 4 into 2 chunks of 2. I'm Will. Also here is Ben, and you can watch full video episodes of the podcast on YouTube. Ben and I also release a bonus hangout show every week that can be found at patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton. So yeah, Ben, today, the long con and one of them. I think they got the, I think they were listening to the show 20 years ago, and they decided to get their stuff together and start moving the plot along a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a bit, especially the stuff that's going to come in not this episode, but the next one. But the next 2 episodes of the 4 that we technically watched this week.
That's right. We are doing things a little differently this week. So look forward to those episodes, gang. But yeah, we did get some, we got some reveals. We got some character stuff that I'm not like super psyched about. Really, I am.
They still haven't killed off Jack or the cop or all the other characters.
Still alive. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, especially like this episode, this long con episode, like. Did we talk about this last week? But the backtracking on the character progression that has happened seems a little bit like, well, then what are we doing here? And like same with Charlie, like it just doubling down to make Charlie just look so irredeemable in this episode too. That's like, well, what was the point of the moth then? That great episode where like he like learns and grows as a person. Like, I mean, I get that like people, evolve over time, and it's not like it's just a steady, like always positive progression. But like in
sometimes
a show
you just gotta
that's
reset. You just gotta forget that last week happened.
I guess so. But I guess like in a show that is like concerned with speaking almost like mythologically or in metaphor, and like if they want to be saying these, if either you're saying something about the human condition or you're not real, or you're just trying to do like a soap opera. And not to say that soap operas can't be saying stuff about the human condition, I suppose. But like either it's like junk food or it's nutritious. And this show seems to like, I mean, honestly, what I'm thinking, it just seems like, oh, we just have to keep filling episodes, I suppose. And so like, we're just going to keep like run it back a few times, which I find frustrating, especially as someone who like, I don't like just like hanging out on the island. I would love if this show was one season of a show, like a mini series. I don't care. I don't like watching long things. I just want to get through, or like long for long's sake, which it sounds, you talked about how that is a problem with this, that, it was successful, so executives want to drag it out. But I'm really feeling it, I guess, is the overall point. And I think it, even more than just like doing a disservice to like the enjoyment factor of getting through it. I think it hurts the overall storytelling for the show to just, I don't know. Oh yeah. So you know how like we kind of did like Sawyer's arc last season? We're just gonna like put him back to square one, and the same thing with Charlie, and make it such that whatever, because we're spinning our wheels, I guess.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think that's TV for you. I don't watch a lot of.
Doesn't have to be.
I don't watch
a
lot
better.
of TV.
Well,
I don't know.
So TV expert weighing in, like, hey, I don't watch it, but that's what it's like for you.
No, I mean, I used to watch a fair bit of TV, but I think that is It's kind of the thing. Even a season, you know, even a season, a series, or mini series or single season show, whatever. They're kind of dragging it out as well, you know. But
That's not true. That's not true. Leftovers does a great job. Like this, the same guy does it right in other places.
okay,
Uh, the Pope content, all my Pope content does it right. Why can't the Island content get it right?
Hmm.
But so complaints up top. I front loaded the complaints, but I should say definitely enjoyed these 2 episodes. This batch more than I was the last 2 podcasts that we've recorded.
Sure.
I'm a lot higher on the show than I used to be, even though there were some frustrations with it. The things that I found frustrating with it were at least things I can sink my teeth into and talk about on the podcast, rather than like from a critical perspective, rather than just Jack is like just still annoying, which is still the case, but
Sure.
I think less so maybe in these episodes. I don't know. We'll get into it.
Well, okay, can we just briefly once again get into what if you were on the island?
Yes,
Uh
please.
what would you be doing? I'm just curious, you know, why not build another boat? Nobody
Well,
seems to be talking about that.
okay. In the world where they had one boat to begin, they started off with one boat.
Mhm.
Like they at least built a boat to begin with. Like I agree, that's a good call. I think building a boat in the first place was a bad idea, and they shouldn't have done that. And I'm not getting on the boat ever, unless you build like a massive ocean-going vessel.
Maybe that's what they should be doing.
I'm down for that then. Let's
Build a
talk
big
about
boat.
it.
Build
Like I
a
think that we
bigger
need to
boat.
have like let's have like daily brainstorms, gang. Let's have like a stand up where just like, did anyone think of something last night to like get off the island? Does anyone
How
have any
about
idea? But it's
how about we got here on an airplane. We're
let's
gonna get
build
out of
an
here
air.
on an airplane. Let's build an
I'm not saying
airplane.
we need to build a 747. We know that
777 will do.
we could do a 777.
I
Well,
think that's bigger.
we
I don't know.
it's more numerically, but
Sure.
we know Lindbergh got around over this thing, or I guess he got over the Atlantic in like a little airplane. Let's just throw some things out. Let's just see if we can come up with some stuff. I'm back on my stargazing stuff. I'm like, let's just keep track of the stars. Maybe we can math our way into knowing exactly where we are, and that like won't necessarily save us in and of itself, but it could inform other rescue activities.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, they really have found a busy box out of the island itself. I know that's a little mean to say about, you know, I guess you could say that about life in general, human civilization in general, but like, you know, you could just kind of keep hanging out on the island. They weren't doing too bad on our mains cast side of the island. I know they had a rough time with it with the tailies before, but like just, you know, you found the hatch, you got kind of lucky with that. Maybe just chill. Maybe don't open up any new side quests that might become a major quest for you. Again, I think if I was on the island, realistically, what I'm doing is probably still on the beach. I got my little hut put together. It's my single person hut. Maybe I'm volunteering during the day to build other people's single family dwellings on the sand as well. And I'm just trying to enjoy life.
Okay, that I was gonna ask you, are you resigning yourself to life on the island from here on out? Like that has to cross
No.
your mind. Oh, come on. Yes, I think you have to. You've gotten there by this point.
No, they're like
Oh, for sure.
they're less than 90 days. You're
I
not living
know,
there the
but
rest of your
90
life.
days without
You're gonna get found. You're gonna get found in a
I
couple
but
within a couple years. They found that Malaysian Airlines flight after
did
the
they
show was
No, they
done.
didn't.
I think they found it broken up.
Did they really? That's fake. I thought that was I
No,
thought they
I think they found
never
stuff.
happened.
They found. I mean, yeah, they didn't find the people, but that's because they died. But they found
Okay,
it.
well then it's still that's not a good piece of evidence for this. I think but okay, but part of you, most of you has to, or I think for me, I think like even if like I will hold space for eventually, maybe someday, maybe someone will rescue me. Uh, but
I'm not feeling
there
that way for like
they didn't
multiple
find Rousseau for
years.
16 years. They know that like she's been lost for 16 years. You're like, nah, not me. I'm different. It wouldn't go down like that for
It
me.
would.
The world
It
would be
would.
like, where's Ben? We have to find Ben. Who cares about Rousseau? We gotta
No,
find Ben.
Rousseau was not on a major airline flight with the United States involved, falling out of the
Oh yes,
sky.
I hear. Here's the American flag coming down in the Ben's background right now. That he
Yeah.
knows the good old U.S. of A. Uncle Sam is gonna go out of its way to find your ass. I don't
No,
think
no,
so, bro.
I
Daniel was part of like some sort of science
I'm.
mission. The science community would have been what better people to find
She's on a
something than the
boat.
people who find things for a living.
She's on a boat. She was on a boat.
She was on a science mission regardless.
Doesn't matter. People don't care about that. People care about
The,
airplanes.
okay, I would like
The
I'm
FAA would get involved.
they'd get involved. They would check some boxes. But here's the thing. I think that like,
They're
okay,
pretty
here's a
intent.
random group of here's a random group of civilians versus a random group of scientists. I
No,
think that they're gonna go for the scientists, big
no.
dog.
We have. If you're gonna be cynical, which I agree with being cynical about it, but if you're gonna be really cynical, this is not a random group of civilians. This has police. This is local police officers, and it has an FBI agent on board too.
I I I will grant you this that it does seem like the LAPD is this is something that for some reason we find out about like 15 years after the fact that like the LAPD was like sailing rescue ships in the middle of the Pacific looking for some random cop. You know, like they have
Yeah,
their own navy for some reason, and they're off
yeah.
doing uh, all of this stuff.
I really no. I'm not thinking about being there. I'm thinking about making it home for Christmas or something like that. But like,
Nah, you're not
no,
getting
it's
picked
gonna.
up.
It's taken a
You are
couple
not getting
years.
picked up.
It's taken a
I
couple years before, and with all these other people I'm seeing on the island, with every body of a person I find on the island, especially with what the guys said when they came back from being on the boat out in the ocean, I'm like, counting down the days now. It's happening, my dude. The only
What did
thing
they see out
between
in the ocean? They didn't see anything out in the ocean other than like the
those
other
guys.
island guys.
Exactly. So I'm thinking it's just a matter of time, you know?
You're not making any sense. I'm
Yeah,
so upset with you. What is
the
that? That
island
doesn't
guys.
make
Well, they had a boat. Presumably they didn't fall out of an airplane with a working, you know, small boat, tugboat looking thing, you know?
Oh.
So I'm starting to think
Hmm.
not everybody on this island is lost. And I mean,
I see what you're saying.
come on. We've also got the Dharma Initiative stuff. People know the outside
That
world
once
knows
that
about this
yeah.
island. People know
Yeah.
about this island. Might be a while, but I'm saying if it was a boat, who cares? This is an airplane. We're talking air navigation.
Well, now I'm back to disagreeing with you. I don't know why you have such faith in that,
Airplanes
especially in this day and age.
airplanes are a big deal. It's like one of those things.
Guy who just turned 6 years old.
Air,
teacher.
airplanes are a big deal. Like
Airplanes, big deal.
they don't. The government doesn't let those
They don't
go.
just let them fall apart, for example. Jesus.
They track them
Check
down.
out Mr. Airplane now.
Find how many. Figure out how many lost airplanes there are from the U.S. government or in the entire world.
They're not going to tell you how many they've lost.
Well,
regardless,
you can know.
regardless, if you're there has to be. Listen, whatever. We're getting into it. Um, okay, if you're lost, I think we both have to agree that like what is it like for like if there's a missing person, you're if you're not found within the first 12 hours, your chance of being discovered again like goes down like dramatically, right? It's like there's like
Yeah.
you're essentially just kind of like whatever. You just gets it written off
Oh, I agree. A
altogether.
single
And so
person, yeah.
yeah,
But
well,
this
yeah,
is an
you
airplane.
correctly identified that was where my point was going to end. So you got my ass. but there has to be some sort of similar thing to like anything else. Like anytime anything is lost, the longer that it's lost, the more likely that it is that it will remain lost. And so at some point, I'm not saying that it's 100% certain, but like you're denying the possibility at all that uh you are stuck on this island forever.
I'm not
At
denying
least
it at all. I'm just
okay.
saying I'm not thinking much about it. I could get lost on an island tomorrow, but that's very low in my mind right now, you know?
You don't think much of that. You wouldn't really like that.
No, I'm not thinking much about that. I'm like, I'm getting off this place. Easy.
Okay, but then 90 days in, you're like, I guess my ass was maybe a little bit overconfident in Uncle Sam and all of those people. Again, you're
Yes,
also losing sight
I
of the fact that
agree.
this is a deliberate
Alinea,
mission by the state to get rid of you all. That like you're just collateral damage. They were trying to take out their operative or whatever, right? Like that's what we talked about last week with Saeed. They're like, all right, go ahead and get on this this airplane. You're involved in these sort of like international like intelligence operations things. Let's wrap up some loose ends. And then just like turns out
can
there's a bunch of other randos and they're gone.
okay, so we can get into the episodes. Can I say one more thing that will completely sidetrack us, which is that
Absolutely.
there are not a lot of Australians on this plane.
I thought that too.
You know, it's kind of
It's a
just
clue.
Claire.
I think that's a clue.
It's kind of just Claire, right?
I think so.
Yeah. And like, I'm
Right?
sure I was thinking about this today. Like, I'm sure somebody could tell us that there are similar round trip flights where the majority of passengers are from one country, and I would guess those are mostly uh countries where the where one is a vacation getaway and has a very low standard of living for local people and low income for local people, and the other one is a very wealthy country or something like that, you know. But I that's not the dynamic between Australia and the U.S. People in
Yeah,
Australia can
Sydney
afford to go to the U.S. People in the U.S. can afford to go to Australia. Why is Claire the only one on this plane?
and she is uh pointedly not somebody who can afford to get to Los Angeles on her own either too.
Yes.
Um and so
What's the pilot that spoke? I think he had an American
I
accent,
think
but
he
I can't
did. Yeah.
remember.
Like
Hmm.
I would even it would you seem a bit more realistic for some reason to me like if it was like like all Los Angeles residents for some reason that was that were coming back on the flight
Yeah.
that were like that too. But it's sort of like, people from all over the globe. We've got I mean like mostly Americans it seems, but we've got a good number of people from across the world, except just like the country of origin of
Yeah.
the flight's origin.
We've got two people from South Korea. We've got one guy from Iraq. Uh, Other people that aren't coming to mind right now. And we've also got one person from Australia, the origin country. Yeah.
And so what's the name of the flight? Actually, it's like
Oce- Oceanic, some
yeah,
number.
8:15.
That's important.
Um, and so like I mean, especially like if it was like Los Angeles Airways or like US Airways or something, like okay, for some reason that would be more that. But like it's specifically Oceania, like it's a
Yeah.
oceanic like company too, and like there's only like one person.
It's Turkish Airways. What
Eric Adams flying the
Eric Adams
plane.
has been
Well, that's
on.
what didn't he say that once? It's like if I'm going down, I'm taking the whole plane with me.
Yeah.
Are we gonna find Eric Adams on this island?
Yeah.
That's a real jump scare. Okay. Speaking of Eric Adams, this episode is called The Long Con. It is it aired February 8th, 2006. Season 2, episode 13. Directed by Roxanne Dawson. Written by Leonard Dick and Stephen Maida. Sawyer, in flashbacks, Sawyer attempts to con divorced woman Cassidy. And we've got some really good character actors in these episodes.
It should be let's be a little bit more PC. Let's be people first. She is a woman of divorce, Cassidy.
He's a man of confidence. But Kim Dickens, the great Kim Dickens, plays Cassidy in this. You might have seen her in she's the cop in Gone Girl, but she's also in Deadwood. That's just where I initially recognized her. She's great, and later in this episode we get another amazing character actor, but we'll talk about him later too. But Sawyer attempts to con woman of divorce Cassidy. While getting dressed, Sawyer accidentally opens a briefcase filled with fake cash bundles made from newspaper. Yeah, this was the same con that we've seen before. And Cassidy sees through this con immediately. Claiming that she did not get a significant settlement in the proceedings, an intrigued Cassidy asks Sawyer to teach her how to con someone. And I gotta say, I love like a con story, like a fun story like this with like twist and whatever. And from the jump, my mind is racing the whole time. I instantly thought like she's conning him this whole time. She's. I'm like, this episode is about the long con that Cassidy plays on Sawyer, and I'm like, I just like couldn't wait for the setup or for the payoff of that. And so we see the two scheme a jewelry con by overpricing fake goods and con two men at a gas station. Two very funny extras, I thought.
Yeah. Just kind of guys off the street. I think those were the real guys at the gas station at that point in time. Yeah.
Hey, do you guys want to be in a TV show? And the two of them perpetrate various cons over the ensuing months. Then Cassidy asks if he can teach her how to pull off a long con, and reveals that she did indeed receive a settlement of $600,000 in her divorce. Sawyer is later at a diner. His waitress is Diane, Kate's mother, which I did not notice, and I just am reading this now. What? So they were in Iowa.
They were. You didn't know there was also a plate. There was a plate in the diner, like a decorative one that said Iowa on it, to remind you that no, we're not in Texas. No, we're not in the diner state of New Jersey. We are in Iowa, at the only diner and the only town where everyone speaks with a southern drawl. Yeah.
The audacity. So I guess this whole thing takes place in Iowa. Huh. The absolute audacity of the production designers to imagine that a diner or any restaurant in Iowa is not garishly decked out in Hawkeye gear.
Yeah.
Is very funny. And so his waitress is Diane, Kate's mother, and Sawyer's eating with Gordy, his partner. The great Kevin Dunn, character actor, that guy, he's awesome. People probably know him from Veep. But it is revealed that Sawyer was planning to con Cassidy out of her money, but wants to back out due to his feelings for her. Gordy threatens Sawyer's and Cassidy's lives if the con is not completed. And so I'm sitting here, I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, I'm so right. I'm 100% correct. Cassidy is successfully got Sawyer to fall for her, and try to teach her the ways of being a trickster. And she is gonna, I don't know, set him up or get him for something, or like get into the ring. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Sawyer returns to the house and tells Cassidy to run because Gordy is going to kill them, and points to a car outside. He reveals that the long con is Cassidy herself, and he always knew about her money, but Gordy will kill them because Sawyer does not want to steal it. He sends her off with the money packed in a bag and goes to the car, which turns out to be empty. He then returns to the house and retrieves the real money, which he concealed, while tricking Cassidy. So I was wrong, and it was just like, yeah, Sawyer, I don't know, just tricked her, and it was what they said.
A slightly longer con than usual, but a relatively short con.
Yep.
Fits into a single episode, I would say. Wouldn't quite call that a long con, you know?
Mm-hmm. I guess. Yeah, and
I
same
guess
with
that's
like
part
the
of the
other con
con.
that the same. There's the other con that is happening in parallel on the island in present day is also still like a single episode, like
Yeah.
con too.
Yeah.
I thought that was happening too. That like he was gonna somehow like betray Kate's trust significantly in this too, but like not really either. I mean, he
Yeah.
does. She like thinks less of him, but didn't like use her to
Yeah.
pull this off. Really,
Maybe it's called the long con because you can just use that as an excuse if you get found out. Cassidy calls you up and you say, "No. This is part of the plan. You're still in on it.
babe,
It was actually
I'm helping."
you did the right thing by taking the fake money, and we still have some years to go."
Yep. Okay, so here we are on the island. Jack and Locke secure all the weapons, medicine, and Virgin Mary statues in the storeroom / the old armory in the hatch. Jack puts the 6 guns in the U.S. Marshal's suitcase along with the key in the gun cache. He finally takes that stupid necklace off, and he looks marginally less stupid now.
Yeah. I have a question for our listeners. I need a legal-minded listener because I was thinking about this quite a bit during these episodes. When these people, like we talked about at the beginning, I'm trusting they're going to get found by old Uncle Sam. When they get found, let's just imagine that they've still got all the heroin there. And I was also imagining to myself, what if instead of growing plants to eat, Sun was growing weed instead? What happens when you get rescued in that situation? If you've turned the island into kind of a drug growing operation and you have a bunch of drugs, are you going to be held like criminally liable for that? You kind of get a free pass because it's not most likely we're not in America right now.
Yeah, it probably depends on what country that the island is
held under,
colonized by, or
yeah.
but if it's an undiscovered island, then it's fair game that they are the government.
Is it fair game though? Isn't there like a US, this is what I need the legal minded. I thought there's like a US law that like, you're kind of not supposed to break US citizens aren't supposed to break US laws in other countries either. Isn't that a thing? Am I misremembering this?
I mean, you can go to Europe and drink when you're 19 though.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about. I mean, I think a big time that this comes up is
that would be a US law.
Well, but I think a big thing this comes up around is like for like sex trafficking and stuff like that. And I feel like drugs are often held in similar contempt of like, the US government says like, "Oh yeah, if you go to a country that's just got like some crazy sex laws or something like that, and you go to pedophile stuff or whatever. When you come back, we're putting you in jail. And I'm just wondering if that applies to my imaginary son, marijuana farm as well.
I get, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that's what you said is true anyway.
Well, that's why we need a legal-minded listener
Premise
to
one.
give us an answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Jack and Locke agree that no one else should be privy to the combination of the safe and that each one will not gain access without the other being present. Sawyer remarks that he and Charlie are now the two most hated people on the island. Charlie replies that Sawyer ought to be more concerned about Jack ransacking his tent. Sawyer confronts Jack, who explains that he is simply returning the painkillers which Sawyer stole. Sawyer replies the painkillers were actually stolen from his stash while he was on the raft. Sawyer also points out to Kate that Jack is now confiding in Ana Lucia rather than her. Ana Lucia asks Jack if Locke gave him the combination for the guns, and he responds that he did. Anna feels that the survivors aren't scared enough and that they all feel that they are safe. Anna then asks for the combination, but when Jack hesitates, Anna says that she was just kidding. Yeah, very... You're a very funny person, always joking around.
Yeah.
About to say something?
I took a very deep breath because I've got nothing more to say about Ana Lucia.
Gotcha.
Get off the screen every single time. End this scene now, please.
I mean, she's it's still part of this like army, I suppose, that Jack wants to raise.
Jack wants to raise an army, yeah. Big
Jack is all over the place in these episodes. I was like scene to scene, and this kind of applies to multiple characters too. And it's not like the biggest problem I have necessarily, but like scene to scene, people's like motivations and like core motivations seem to kind of really just be like dependent on like what are we trying to do this episode. And I don't mean to be like too beholden to that, but it does like cheapen overall when we like get into like a character study moment where it's like, okay, now we're being serious about what the people want and what they're going for. And like, okay, we just kind of like arbitrarily turn that on and off depending on what we got to do this week.
I appreciate that Sawyer at some point in this episode says, when somebody asks him about his motivation, he's just like, because it'll piss off Jack.
Yes.
Like, good. That is all we needed to hear. Your character is very well understood at this point. Perfect. Now, why is anyone else doing any of the stuff that they're doing?
Especially Jack, where like, I think it's in the next episode where like, we all know Jack wouldn't be into torturing somebody. It's like, I kind of think he was like one of the main guys into torturing earlier. So no. So while Kate is reading to Sawyer, he mentions the army that Jack and Ana Lucia are forming. Meanwhile, to assuage Saeed's grief over Shannon's death, Hurley attempts to connect with Saeed, revealing that he went to Rose and Bernard's tent and got their radio from the Arrow hatch. I guess that was the other hatch on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Hurley also had discovered that Bernard was the one who picked up Boone's transmission from the Nigerian drug plane. He asks Saeed if he can boost the power somehow to help them send another signal, but Saeed says it would not work. While Sun is working in her garden, someone puts a burlap bag over her head. Her hands are tied together and she is dragged away. Sawyer and Kate hear her screams. They run to her and find her unconscious. They bring her back to camp, and the castaways fear that the others are back. That's something that I think I would do if I was on the island, to answer your question earlier, is that like I would be like always bringing them up. Not in like a like we got to fight them or something, but like you guys know that we should like be talking about them probably more frequently.
Yeah.
If there's like active antagonists on the island.
Yeah. Let's protect ourselves from them.
Yeah.
But not with any more dynamite. That did not
or
work
at
well
least
last time.
like say like, damn, this is kind of crazy that there's some guys out there, you know? Like I don't even need to necessarily be like, let's make an army or, arm ourselves or something. But just like, I would like just like be joking about like anytime I go to the bathroom, be like, I hope the others don't like, steal my poop,
I
but
mean,
like,
the army thing does start to make more sense when you realize how bored people, like all the side quest stuff makes more sense when you realize how bored people probably
sure.
are, you know? So I will
And
give them that.
yeah,
When you're like, I am gonna be here a while. I think I'm gonna be rescued, but I better, you know, maybe I get physically fit. Like when people say, "Oh, I'm going to jail for 18 months." Maybe I'll try to get jacked while I'm in jail or whatever. And they're just, yeah, maybe I'll try to start a new police force
well, yeah,
on the
I,
island.
I was. It seems to be worthwhile to like at least learn some like. I feel like okay, if we're taking like honest stock of the situation, we're looking at what's going on. I think it's worthwhile to maybe can we do a lunch and learn every so often and pick up some skills from like can we get like Saeed and Locke to give us all a little primer
Maybe
on like
I would
hunting,
say
tracking, self-defense, just because like, it seems like some of us are sometimes getting attacked. I don't necessarily mean we got to raise an army, but
I gotta say, yeah, I like the lunch and learn idea. I'm a big proponent of those at work. I've got a better idea than all of that, though. I probably would have done first weekend. Hey, the one doctor on the island, maybe you could teach the rest of us some first
yes,
aid
some
because we keep having
CPR.
to tiptoe around. Like, why is the one guy who can do anything also trying to be the head of the
I think that's
army
a
and all that
massive
kind of stuff?
strategic error, honestly. Like, I think
Yeah.
that, I mean, not to get into it too much. Fauci, haha. Just okay. Just get sorry, cut. But like, I really didn't mean to invoke that because now what I'm about to say is gonna sound insane. But like, I think you should distribute like if you want to like arrange your society, like when we're picking people. I think you do. I think you gotta let Jack just be a doctor and not be making political calls, right? Uh because then you get into a situation where like to even protect him, you don't want to have like situations where someone gets injured and he's making the call to like whether or not to treat them because of his like some sort of plan or whatever. Like you kind of want like a good faith like just doctor to be doing doctor stuff and like you distribute these different duties across the survivors in different ways, and so like just have him be doctor, also have him teach people how to do back surgery, whatever the fuck it is he does, but or just even like CPR and stuff, uh, but also too just like I think it would be good for morale too that if people just kind of get together and like I'll give a little like seminar about like how to back up your SD cards or something,
Yeah.
and just be like, all right, I guess we run across any camcorders out here, we'll help us out here, and I don't know who knows what's gonna come in handy
Yeah.
out here. Let's 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 let's
Little
build our
community
society.
college
Yeah,
situation going on out there. Exactly. Yeah.
exactly. So okay, yeah. Jack determines that Sun will be fine after she got beat up. Jin demands a gun to seek revenge. Despite Jack's wishes to wait for Sun to regain consciousness before an investigation, Sawyer and Kate return to the site of Sun's attack for an inspection. They find the bag, which is a different make from the one used by someone else on Kate. I'm seeing a link to a name on Wikipedia that has not been named yet. So, wiping that from my brain.
Sure.
They deduce that one of the survivors may have attempted the kidnapping. Kate suspects Ana Lucia, who thinks she wants to instill fear in the survivors so that they will form an army against the others, kind of like a false flag attack.
Anyways, I mean, yeah. Uh, good thinking. Good thinking. Completely possible when you
Very
got
reasonable,
a cop
extremely
on the
reasonable.
island. These
Yeah,
guys, yeah, an LAPD cop of all people too. Yeah, it's not going to take long before they're like, we need a false flag. operation to instill fear in our community.
Yeah.
So be
I mean,
more funding for cops on our island.
yeah, exactly. I mean, even though that like is not like what happens in this episode, I think it's still like I think you should still like proceed as if it was true anyway.
Yeah.
And maybe do your own reverse false flag and like find like have a little note in Ana Lucia's handwriting or a counterfeit handwriting that says that I'm gonna attack son. Just like I don't know, just get her kicked out of the
Yeah.
community just in case, because you know
Yeah.
she's gonna be doing that. So Kate expresses her concerns to Jack and asks Sawyer to alert Locke that Jack is coming for the guns. I thought it was weird that. Never mind. Locke decides to move the guns so that Jack and Jin cannot get at them. So this is another key part where like, yeah, don't be having Jack as part of the like political decision making leadership here, because he can't be trusted with it. Like he can't be. I don't know. He's just gonna go violate the thing right away, as Locke feared.
Yeah.
Locke is being ever reasonable in these episodes, and like correctly kind of suspects Jack of some bullshit, and Jack immediately pulls some bullshit.
They're kind of starting like a little bit of a proxy war between the two of our two little generals, Jack and Locke, getting other people to do their bidding as they continue to butt heads with one another.
Yeah. While hiding the arsenal, Locke leaves Sawyer to push the button or type the code in. Jack enters the hatch in search of a gun, but finds the safe empty. I think what Locke should have done in this scenario is he should have just changed the combination and then go hid himself, not move the guns, right? Like he should have just like dipped out.
Well, he said that the Locke would only keep Jack out for so long. That's
true.
Thing. I think he should.
I think Locke can always stay ahead in the jungle, and Jack would have like he's got to cool down eventually. Jack is such a hothead that you just got to like stay out of his hot zone, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, I think they should have done some like partial. What do you say? Knowledge, whatever, of the passcode. Instead of them both knowing the full combination.
Oh yeah,
they should both know part of the combination.
That's a great idea.
You have to
the
work
double key
together.
Sort of situation.
Yes, yeah. Exactly.
This symbol. This is double key. This isn't anything else. What I'm doing here. Shout out to the YouTube audience. That's a great idea. Yeah, like I'll put the first two numbers in. You do the second two, or something like that.
Yes, I don't know how many numbers there are, how well that actually works with a padlock like that, but in general, maybe do that next time.
Yeah. Sawyer taunts Jack and tosses him the painkillers, which Jack took from his tent. When Jack confronts Locke on the beach about his the missing weaponry, Locke defends his actions by pointing out that Jack was about to break their agreement. Great point. Really solid point. Tactically iffy, like I said, but like he was spot on. During this dispute, shots ring out and Sawyer appears, wielding an automatic rifle.
Yeah,
Sawyer reveals that this incident was a long con to seize the guns and declare himself the new sheriff in town. This was so goofy, dude. Like, I mean, especially in light of like how Sawyer acts in like the next episode, I thought it was so goofy because he like immediately goes back to like his same thing. But I thought it was gonna be like, oh no, now this is like a crazy heel turn from Sawyer. Where he just went from like dickhead to like straight up like Mad Max villain, where he's gonna be like pointing guns at people, like making them do stuff like the whole time. I was like kind of interested in that, but no.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. He just kind of goes back to his usual self, reading books, and I do have a help remind me later when we get to it. Okay. I have some thoughts on the books, specific books that he's reading.
He's one of those guys who cites Percy Jackson as his favorite book kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Unknown to the rest, the attacker in the garden, as well as the one who tracked Locke to the hiding place, was Charlie, who agreed to help Sawyer in order to humiliate Locke. And why does Charlie want to humiliate Locke?
Because
Again?
he thinks that Locke is trying to jack his swag with Claire,
That's right.
which is very funny. Such a bad read of the situation. This
A
old
bad read and just like
ass guy is trying to
just
steal my fake
annoying.
girlfriend.
Like, yeah, like, are we gonna learn that this was all like? Okay, if I don't know much about like what it's like to like go through withdrawal from heroin. Like, I don't think we're picking up too many clues about like how much of this can be written up. How much of this is just Charlie being like a bad person, and how much of this is like just like he is, you know, going through withdrawal and it does things to you, or like addiction is doing something crazy to him, or just like various other mental health things. But like something's going on. The show isn't like giving him much of an out in any of this. It's sort of like, check out this like evil guy.
I don't know if he's evil, but I think, and I don't know that I will blame it on the withdrawal either. I think that the other people on the island don't do enough. There's like, it's a bad, weird situation that like the other people have let it go on too long, him being weird and too close to Claire or whatever. I think somebody should have stepped in. Somebody else should have stepped in, you know?
So, okay, is this an overall, his character is like has this like fixation issue? Like the music, it was like religion at first, and then like the music, and then heroin.
Yeah. I
And
think
like
he's a
he's just like,
he's a childish guy, yeah. And the fixation is part of it, I think. And yeah, he's like just grasping to be an adult somehow.
and Locke is the only person to treat him like an adult, or like with consequences too, right? Where like he was like, I'm gonna trust you to, you know, make like that moth episode was so great. That was so great.
Yeah,
Where
except that I think that Locke is also an insane person too. Like Locke makes me I would not want to be around him in person either. So it's like two different kinds of crazy people
how was Locke
interacting
crazy?
with
I mean,
one another.
he's got a
The
100% hit rate.
the mysticism stuff, you know? Like I like that a lot from afar, but
Sure, okay.
I couldn't have a conversation with you. Like there are certain people like, you know, you can treat Charlie like an adult, but you got to move along the gradient, you know? You can't jump straight to this like mystic like I'll
It
talk to you
wasn't
like I'm
he wasn't
a
being like
sage.
mystic stuff. It was just it was like
Parables and stuff like that.
it was just like, you have to be the one to give this up because it's not going to be effective if
you gotta say that. Just say it in the tone of
that's
voice.
basically what he
it.
said.
But he didn't say it. He said it in a weird. He said it in a weird way. A
I don't
weird
know.
tone of voice. I think.
Locke untouchable. I gotta say he's unassailable.
Would you would have a
moral
conversation with that guy?
I think I honestly think I would, but not only. I don't think that really matters either. I think that maybe he's different than a lot of people, and kind of like a way, like it's just like he's a guy who just like knows more than everyone else, and he's not like the friendliest guy, but he's perfectly friendly if you're friendly to him. I think I would be buds.
I like from a distance. I like Locke more than Jack, but it'd be much easier to have a conversation with Jack.
I
think.
strongly disagree with that. I wouldn't. Jack is like deeply annoying.
He's annoying. He's annoying, but in my mind, he's more of a normal person. He doesn't give off the crazy vibes.
Locke is not giving off crazy.
I feel like when I was like early on in college, like early on as a young adult and you're meeting new people, I had, I'd meet someone new and for the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh yeah, this is nice. This is a friendly person. And then they just kind of give off the crazy radiation just a little bit too much over time. And you're like, oh, no, this is a, this is a crazy person. They're a nice person, but I can't, I'm not comfortable talking to them.
Okay. There's a major caveat to that though, and it's that like Locke is right about everything though at the same time. The point is that the island is mysterious and kind of magical, and he's the only one tuning into it. So you're just saying yourself that like you would just keep ignoring all of the weird stuff going on.
Not ignoring him. I'm just saying I'd still keep my distance.
I mean, I think that's a smart idea anyway. It's sort of like high risk, high reward as far as being a main character in this show, because like unless you're Steve, which I think they've done the joke too many times now in the show. Like Anna Lucia did the joke about, I think in the next episode, but like Scott versus Steve, and like, oh no, Scott died. No, it was Steve. I don't know who, one of those two, like one of the randos.
Yeah.
But like otherwise, I think you could kind of just like coast along and be on your own as a background character. Okay, anyway, we gotta move here. So okay, Sawyer offers Charlie one of the Virgin Mary statues, but he refuses it.
Yeah.
Saeed brings Hurley the radio, along with a transmission amplifier to boost the signal. They first pick up Rousseau's distress transmission, and then they pick up a radio transmission of Glenn Miller's Moonlight Serenade. Saeed explains that due to radio waves bouncing off the ionosphere, short-wave radio signals can potentially travel thousands of miles.
Saeed then launches into a description about how the Glenn Miller band is often maligned as being white jazz, or some weird rant on that. And actually, they were an important part of the American jazz history.
Saeed says that it could be coming from any place, to which Hurley replies, or any time. Just kidding, man. Something like that.
Hurley's been being a freak big time in all these episodes as well.
I'm riding with Hurley. I'm gonna, like, he does say some weird stuff, but like the portrayal, like this show is so cruel to Hurley. So I'm just gonna be on his side. The other thing that I would do if I was on this island is be talking about like Rousseau a whole bunch. Be like, where is she? Why do we just not care where she is? What's going on with that? She did take the baby.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give this show a 4 out of 5. It's a good episode.
3 from me.
Mm-hmm. I think that, like, I mean, I just love it. Had all of the stuff that, like, I think would be compelling about a episode of TV. It just didn't like quite stick the landing on like the con stuff. Like I wish they took it like one step further. But yeah. All right, let's talk about the next episode. Let's talk about season 2, episode 14. One of Them, directed by Stephen Williams, written by Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cuse, airing February 15th, 2006, one day after Valentine's Day in 2006. All right, lovers, listen up. We've got a story about the Gulf War. Flashback. The 1991 Allied invasion of Iraq is underway. Saeed, an Iraqi soldier, burns documents with fellow soldiers. Some are resisting, and as Saeed's commanding officer, Tariq, orders them to continue, American troops burst in and very realistically do not just air hole everybody in the room.
Yeah. I like, shout out to Wikipedia editor again. Burst. Anytime you say somebody bursts into a room, I just imagine
Picturing Kramer. Yeah. Rather than some door kicking going down. Yeah.
Yeah. that's how it was during the
Enter
Gulf War.
American military. Yeah.
They all, every time they were kicking down doors, it was actually the Kramer move going on throughout all of Iraq.
Oh, hey.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah. If you just sort of think about, the American military's presence in the 1991 invasion of Iraq as kind of like going through their cupboards looking for cereal. Kind of a way to think about it.
Yeah.
So Saeed tries to lie, saying that their commanding officer has abandoned them. However, the American soldier, Sam Austin, does not believe him. Wait, what? That was him?
Wait, sorry, is Sam Austin the character's name? Or Sam Aston the...
Sean Astin.
Sean Astin. Wait, do we know Sam Austin?
Yeah, we saw in the What Kate Did episode.
Yeah, okay, sorry. I thought you were calling this out as another rando guy name of I'm dating Glenn Miller or whatever.
This is the trick where like you like never know when to pay attention. Like at some point we're gonna find that out that like Brian Porter is actually the key to all this shit, right? And it's like Michael's ex's new husband, right?
Has Vincent run around? Have you kept your eye out for Vincent in some of these other flashbacks? Is Vincent the dog?
Is he really in these?
I don't know.
Oh, gotcha.
That's a genuine question. I really can't remember, but maybe he was also in Iraq, during the Gulf War. Vincent was the lead torture dog or whatever.
Don't put that on him. Airbud, no. Stop. Where is she? Everyone's connected. Very fate or coincidence, Ben.
Very Lost of them.
This is giving this episode of Lost is giving Lost to me. I'm picking a lot of Lost facts. Okay, so the American soldier, Sam Austin, who is also Kate's stepfather, does not believe him. Were we supposed to pick up on that in the moment? Maybe. I'll say sure.
Yeah.
Saeed is held captive by the Americans who have found Tariq. Two higher-ranked military men ask Saeed to act as a translator, and he attempts to get his CO to reveal the location of an American captive pilot. Speaking in their own language, which the Americans cannot understand, Saeed's CO...
And it's impossible, in the year 2024, it's impossible for other people to understand what that language would be as well. Could it possibly annotate that? Well, yes. But I mean, between then and now, no one has ever been able to decipher that they were most likely speaking Urdu, I would guess.
We got subtitles. What are you talking about?
No, I know. No, I had subtitles. I'm just saying the language should be known. Well, actually,
their own language.
Speaking?
Oh, gotcha. I see
what
what
were
you're
they
saying.
speaking? Maybe I'm wrong about. I guess that's probably not right.
Folks, flag that.
Urdu would be Pakistan. I don't know.
I know. I'm just not gonna say.
Okay.
Saeed's CO orders him to grab the American's gun and kill as many as he can. However, Saeed refuses. Austin knows that they cannot get the information and call him the next man. American DIA agent Kevin Inman, played by Clancy Brown.
Yes, big guy.
Huge, yeah. I will say this is another big point for these episodes where we get some amazing guest actors in here. Kelvin, not Kevin. Kelvin Inman orders Saeed to torture the Iraqi officer. At first, Saeed refuses this too, but agrees after the agent shows a video of Saeed's family being gassed on the officer's orders. Ooh. While interrogating the officer, Saeed learns that it is too late and that the pilot was executed anyway. Saeed is eventually released by the Americans who are pulling out. We get a lot of like, I don't know, VFX of the day set extensions going on that I like look a little goofy to today's eye, but like I love it.
I love like seeing the one where it's like you're like, oh, I'm in a PlayStation 1 right now, and then it pans over and you're actually I'm in Lost inside of a PlayStation 1,
Yeah.
showing it like a military base. Let's call it. Let's call it. We know what it is, what kind of base it is, but for our civilians out there, we'll just call it a military base.
Yeah, for those of you who aren't operators like us. In the truck, Austin asks Saeed if he has a wife or kids, to which he shakes his head. Inman says that the day will come when Saeed needs information from someone, and that he will have the means to get it. He can speak Arabic, much to Saeed's shock. So I guess it was Arabic. I mean, I know it was obviously Arabic.
Makes a lot more sense.
Not this Urdu stuff that you were saying.
Well, Urdu, okay, whatever.
However, Saeed vows to never torture again. He's off torture. Before he leaves, Inman gives him several $100 American for a bus ride back to Ramadi.
It just really cost like, I guess I might be wrong.
Well, no,
do you need a
obviously
couple
not.
$100 for a bus ride in Iraq?
I think it was.
back then.
I think it was supposed to be like they made a big production about like how much money it was. I think it was a little paternalistic, I don't know, show of power thing for some reason.
Sure. Putting this on
Some
the Uncle
daddy
Sam
thing.
credit card.
Yeah. So on the island, Ana Lucia Cortez takes Saeed into the jungle and tells her to go back after seeing Danielle Rousseau, who was looking for him. Danielle asks Saeed to follow her, but he does not trust her since she previously stole Claire's baby. Good reason not to trust somebody. She gives him her gun as a symbol of trust. Danielle takes Saeed to a man she captured. Danielle tells Saeed not to let him go because she thinks he is, quote, one of them. I will say, Danielle could do a lot better at like talking about what's about to happen. You know, like tell Saeed, hey, I captured somebody. You're gonna see him. Don't freak out, that kind of thing. But like, let's be a little bit more forthcoming. Be a little bit more eyes on what's happening. The man identifies himself as Henry Gale from Minnesota. Ignoring Danielle's warning, Saeed frees the man who attempts to flee until she shoots him in the back with a crossbow.
Yeah. Very funny.
Yeah, the arrow that makes you just like pass out, I guess.
Yeah.
Which might be realistic, but in like movie, TV language, that's like a kill shot.
That's a kill shot, yeah. But it goes through like a shoulder or something, right? Like,
I mean, it kind of looks like
it
it.
hurt.
Yeah, I mean, I think they do make it hurt for him. Yeah. Saeed brings him back to the hatch and tells John Locke that he needs to talk to Henry. Henry claims that he and his wife were in a hot air balloon that crashed on the island about 4 months before.
Mm-hmm.
Jack interrupts and notices Henry's injury. Saeed explains that it was not treated because they want to learn as much as they can about Henry while he is still wounded. Jack intervenes and removes the arrow.
Okay. Gotta pause here and say, Michael Emerson, the biggest connection between us and the show so far, possibly.
The guy who plays Henry Gale?
Yes. You know Michael Emerson?
No.
Really? Michael Emerson was born in Cedar Rapids, and he grew up in my county, and his parents he once lived in Grinnell, and his parents are, I don't know if they're still alive, but they are longtime residents of Grinnell.
Wow. So
Michael Emerson went
he is
to
70 years old.
Michael Emerson is 70?
Yeah.
Wow. He's older
He looks
now
young.
than he was then.
Damn.
Yeah, he's probably like 50 back then or something. Yeah, but I think he kind of got his break partly with Lost later in life, you know. Yeah. He was big talk around
Interesting.
town when I was a kid. I did not watch Lost when it was coming out. I had no interest in it, but I did hear a lot of people talk about Michael Emerson. I ran into Michael Emerson visiting his parents.
Oh, he was
something
still
like
in
that.
the area. He still like hung out.
No, I
He was
I
one of
mean,
these Elijah Wood type.
I think he like visited his parents. I
Oh,
mean,
gotcha.
I can't take any credit on. I never saw the guy. I never met him. Did not care about
Sounds
him.
like you're best friends with him or something.
Did not care about Lost back then. But I do remember specifically people being really excited seeing him at
Interesting. He does a great
points.
job.
He's a good actor.
Yeah. Cedar Rapids boy done good. Good for him.
Yep.
Saeed tells Jack not to untie Henry. Saeed asks Locke to change the combination in the armory so he can find out more about by torturing Henry in a secure room. Saeed tells Jack to put him in the armory so that no one else will see him. There, Saeed interrogates Henry, who says he was rich because he owned a company that mined for non-metallic minerals. He gives a compelling personal story. He gives a very his at the end of this okay, we're talking about the next 2 episodes in the next podcast, so I'll say
Yep.
he's very convincing. He had me. I'm like I believe his story. He supposedly met his wife at the University of Minnesota. After crashing on the island, Henry claims that his wife got sick 3 weeks earlier, starting with a fever, degrading to delirium, and ultimately resulting in her death. He also says he dug his wife's grave near where they crashed. Saeed starts questioning him more ferociously, threatening to break Henry's finger. Meanwhile, Sawyer cannot sleep due to a chirping noise coming from the jungle. He asks Jin to help him find the source of the noise. Jin ignores him instead. Also because, of the language
Jane doesn't
barrier.
understand him.
As we have, I guess those rude people who don't understand English always ignoring you when you're talking to them in English. Yeah. Sawyer goes into the jungle alone and eventually discovers Hurley eating from a hidden stash of food from the hatch. I think this sucks. Didn't like this.
Evil Hurley. Also very gross.
No, what the fuck? No, cruel of loss to portray, make the fat guy eat a bunch of food like that. That's rude.
Well, but I mean, it's part of the story, I don't know what I'm saying. It's just, it's part of this. It's part of the story. It does have a place.
All right. Hurley says that the noise is coming from a tree frog. Sawyer blackmails Hurley, saying that he will not tell anyone about the secret stash if Hurley helps him track the frog. While searching through, Sawyer mocks Hurley for his weight. Hurley decides to return to the beach alone, saying that though he stole food, people still like him, unlike Sawyer. Very true. Sawyer apologizes to convince Hurley to carry on. They eventually find the frog. Hurley offers to release the frog 2 beaches away, but Sawyer kills it instead. 2 beaches away. How long of using a beach's measurement? How long is a beach? How much? Where do you decide what makes a beach a beach?
Only a beachman can know the length of a beach.
No true beachman would say that.
We're dirt men.
This is true.
Yes.
Okay, I don't know. Zoe and I both were like 2 beaches away. What the heck is he talking about?
Yeah.
I guess coves. Would you say coves, perhaps?
Well, if I was,
because you could have a really long cove.
I assume it means something, but I really couldn't say. Maybe it really does mean, something breaks up the beaches. It breaks up the sand, You get to like a little bit of a cliff or something like that, or rocks, and dirt and grass that goes into the water. A jetty? Do you call it a jetty? A jetty.
Sure. So you sound like a beachman, my friend. And I suppose these guys probably would have developed a little bit of their own shorthand for the geography of the area too, where the first beach is up until that rock and the second beach is up until that stick, or whatever outcropping, that jetty. And now I'm doubting if that's a word, but I think you're right.
I think jetty.
Yeah.
Who knows? Nobody will be able to correct us until the Uncle Sam comes and finds us on the island. It's a Jetta for all. It's a Volkswagen Jetta
There's a
for all I
Volkswagen there on the
care.
beach.
You know?
In the response to Saeed's questioning, Henry cannot recount the specific details of burying his wife. Saeed believes he is lying, stating that he would know every last detail about digging his wife's grave. Henry then realizes that Saeed has lost someone close to him on the island. Saeed beats him as Jack and Locke listen from outside. Jack takes action by holding Locke, preventing him from entering the numbers at the appointed time, telling him that he will only let Locke go if he opens the door. The timer goes below a minute, and Locke complies by unlocking the armory and then dashing for the computer. By the time he unlocks the door, there were only 10 seconds left. He begins typing the code. As the timer presses 0, the numbers flip up over to symbols. 2 are Egyptian hieroglyphs, 2 are unknown characters, and another square does not stop turning.
How do they know that? Maybe you've never seen Egyptian hieroglyphs before. Those might be unknown characters too. Maybe you've never taken
Everyone had that Egyptology.
Geometry class, so you're not familiar with squares either. Also could be an unknown symbol.
I was shocked that we got to see this sort of thing. The symbols are accompanied with the sound of a machine spooling up like a jet engine turbine. Locke hits the execute button, the timer resets to 108, and the sound dies down. Meanwhile, in the armory, Jack stops an enraged Saeed. They lock a bloodied Henry back in the armory. Saeed thinks Henry is an other because he feels no guilt about torturing him. On the beach, he tells Charlie that Jack and Locke will never understand that feeling because they have forgotten what the others have done to them. Stating that the others are merciless, he asks Charlie if he remembers how they hanged him from the tree and kidnapped Claire. End of episode.
Yep. I'm gonna give this one. I know, we've covered a lot of ground, so we've got to end it pretty soon. I will give this one a 4, and I want to do a little. I don't want to worry you, Will, but I want to at this episode leave something for the future, and I'm not doing this at anything in particular, not spoiling anything, but I just want to leave for the audience a little wink.
Ben's doing a wink at the camera.
And Will can just a little wink for this episode.
Okay. Now this is like a little clue for me to come back to later on when I go back and rewatch all of these podcast episodes. I can know what you're winking about here. I wrote down here that Saeed should practice his torture on Charlie. Ooh, we also get a Saeed age reveal. We were arguing about Saeed's age reveal or age earlier. He said that he was 23 when the Americans came to the country. 23 in, so like 91. So he is 34 when they hit the beach. 34, 35. Dating a 20-year-old.
Interesting.
So even worse. So I'm gonna give this episode a 3 out of 5, but a strong 3. I like seeing the symbols. That's fun. But I didn't like the Hurley fat jokes. So yeah. But yeah, Clancy Brown, the Kelvin guy. You might have seen him from Shawshank Redemption, Starship Troopers, that sort of thing.
Finding Nemo.
You would not have seen him in Finding Nemo at all?
You would have heard him in Finding Nemo.
Sure. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode. Thanks for listening to the podcast. Again, check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/Dr. Skeleton. Next week, we're watching the next 2 episodes of the show because it's there's just so much to get into. We're watching Maternity Leave and The Whole Truth. That's episode 15 and 16 of season 2. Thank you for watching the show, and we'll catch you next time. Goodbye.